Hi guys, Paul here from VIEZU and Paramount Performance, and I am delighted to say we are now XF owners. I've been looking for an XF to do some development work for probably about 3 or 4 months now, and finally we found one. In the past I've had a number of XKs and XFs, but we were looking for an XF 5 litre supercharged specifically because we've got some new products we want to develop. And it hasn't been the easiest thing to find, to be honest. This is probably about the 5th one we've looked at, and we've seen some, well, dare I say, some pretty doggy examples. I think we set a reasonable budget at about £10,000 to £12,000 for a vehicle of about 14 years old, and preferably not with Starship mileage. But most of the examples we were looking at had huge amounts of fault codes, quite a lot of corrosion in some cases, and we saw some ABS problems and numerous other issues too. So maybe in some ways this is the best of a bad bunch, but I think for our wonderfully spent £7,000, this is quite a nice example. And because we haven't spent all of our budget on the car, we've got a little bit more money maybe to bring it up to date and carry out some maintenance. So what do we have planned for it? Well, first of all, we need a decent air induction system for these cars. We've got a great one for the F-Type, but whenever we've seen some of the current market versions of induction systems on the dyno, they tend to lose quite a lot of power. So people are paying to have their car tuned and then losing that power they've gained from the tune by putting on an air induction system. Yes, it might make it sound like a Hellcat, but it's complete nonsense and people are then losing the power that they've paid to have. So what we need, first of all, a good quality air induction system. So that's the first thing we're looking at. A switchable exhaust system is also on the list, so we've got a great switchable exhaust system again for the F-Type, but there isn't a good quality system that gives the customer the choice of loud and super loud with the option to switch anytime for the XF, so that's another product on the making. And then of course we've got our supercharger chiller kit. It's working an absolute dream on the F-Type, getting us over 700 brake horsepower, but there's nothing like it for the XF. So the core of that unit is of course the same, but what we haven't got is the pipe and the induction work for the XF. So we've got some great new exciting products, and when that's done we might even slap on our 750 brake horsepower Harrop supercharger too. But before we do any of that, we need to do some basic maintenance. I always say when tuning a car, you've got to get the foundations right. It's just like building a house. You don't want to build it on poor foundations. And we know this girl already. It's got a little bit of surface corrosion underneath. We know the brakes are a little bit tired, and when we drive her down the road, well, she feels like a little bit like an old sofa. They're always nice, comfortable cars, but this one's just not feeling quite right anymore. So next week we're going to start with getting her up in the air on the ramp, finding out what's going on with the suspension, update the brakes, brand new brakes all round, and then the real fun can happen when we start adding some extra power. So keep watching, look forward to seeing you.